Hello students, welcome to the lecture series on international business. We will continue with our discussion on contemporary issues in international business. This is part 5. I am Professor Soma Sen Gupta, Kamala Nehru College, University of Delhi. In this lecture, we will discuss the two topics, international business and sustainable development and sustainable development goals, SDGs. Continuing with whatever we have studied in the last lecture, that is the ecological environment and ecological imbalance. What is ecological environment? Ecological environment consists of all living and non-living things present on the earth and the interaction between them. With the industrial development, more and more resources have been utilized without keeping in check the availability of the resources. This has resulted in an ecological imbalance in the world. Now, the reasons for ecological imbalances have been discussed in the last chapter. Quickly, we will a quick recap of whatever we have studied. Demand supply mismatch is there, like globalization and growth of international business activities has resulted in a mismatch between the demand and supply of resources. Industrial activities have increased. This has resulted in an inefficient utilization of natural resources, environmental degradation, health problems affecting biodiversity, extinction of plants and animals, industrial pollution, emissions and accidents. Extinction of resources will create major problems for the future generations to come. So, that is why we have to take care of our ecological environment. One of the way of doing that is sustainable development and another is environmental management. So, we have discussed about sustainable development and environmental management in our last lecture. So, what we have studied is that sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So, that means you consume the resources in such a manner that you are leaving ample amount of it for the future generations to come so that they can also enjoy it likewise. Environmental management refers to managing the relation between the natural environment and humans so as to conserve and protect the environment by adopting environment friendly systems as well as processes. Now, global ecological problems are there and that has to be managed. So, the global environmental challenges are interconnected crises driven by human activity. It primarily features rising greenhouse gas emissions causing extreme weather and climate change, biodiversity loss, pollution, deforestation and resource depletion. Now, the key measures to resolve global ecological problems, we have discussed them in detail earlier. Now, we will just mention or enumerate the points. So, transition to renewable energy, circular economy and waste management, sustainable agriculture and diet, ecosystem restoration and protection, sustainable transportation, carbon pricing and policy regulation, water conservation. So, for the details you can refer to the last lecture. Now, this individual and corporate actions can also be taken in this direction. So, conscious consumption, reducing food waste, supporting environmental causes and investment in sustainable business. So, this we have discussed in the last lecture. Now, coming to the issues which we haven't discussed in this lecture, and this is measures to resolve ecological problems at global level. So, we have discussed that the corporates also take some recourse as well as the individuals also take some recourse to resolve the ecological problems. But majorly at the global level certain steps were necessary so that the ecological imbalances could be addressed to and the problems could be solved. So, what are the measures to resolve ecological problems at global level? It can be classified into 4 categories. The first one is international conventions, treaties and protocols, international organizations, international environmental laws, environmental management system. So, let us discuss them in detail one by one. The first one is international convention, treaties and protocols. So, at international level, these things, conventions, treaties and protocols have been organized in the past, whereby the member countries, they accepted the norms fixed in those conventions, or whatever standards were set in those conventions. So, we will discuss some of the conventions, treaties and protocols. International convention, treaties and protocols are largely binding or non-binding agreements designed to manage global ecological crisis, including climate change, biodiversity loss and pollution. So, if we talk about climate change conventions, the major climate change conventions are as follows. The first one is which was held in 1992, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, that is UNFCCC, and the main idea was, the objective was to stabilize greenhouse gas concentration. So, that was the agenda of this convention. Another convention was the very prominent one, the Kyoto Protocol of 1997, and there they set the emission reduction targets for developed countries. Another one was the Paris Agreement 2015, and it is also of great importance because here they agreed to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees centigrade and ideally reduce it to 1.5 degrees centigrade. Vienna Convention of 1985 and Montreal Protocol of 1987, the main agenda was to protect the ozone layer. So, they decided on the steps to be taken by the member nations to protect the ozone layer. Then biodiversity and conservation is another issue on which conventions took place. So, one was Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, 1992. It focused on conserving biodiversity, sustainable use and fair sharing of genetic resources. Another one was Cartagena Protocol 2003, governs biosafety and movement of living modified organisms. Nagoya Protocol, and these are basically name of the cities, like Nagoya is in Japan. So, Nagoya Protocol, where the protocol or convention took place in 2010, and there the main objective was equitable sharing of benefits from genetic resources. Another area is hazardous waste and chemicals, and on that also some of the conventions took place. One is Basel Convention 1989. The idea was controls transboundary movement of hazardous waste. Then Rotterdam Convention 1998. The idea was manage international trade in certain hazardous chemicals. Stockholm Convention 2001, so focuses on eliminating persistent organic pollutants. Then Minamata Convention 2013 to protect human health and the environment from mercury pollution. On land and soil, for land and soil also one of the convention took place, that is UN Convention to combat desertification, that is known as UNCCD 1994, and it focuses on desertification, land degradation and drought mitigation. So, these were the conventions which took place, and right now also one of the convention is going on where all the EU member countries are attending it. So, these are very important from the global ecological management point of view. Then there are certain international organizations which actually conducts all these convention treaties and continuously work towards bettering the environment, betterment of the environment, or taking up the environmental issues. So, the prominent international organizations are United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC, International Union for Conservation of Nature IUCN. Then Worldwide Fund for Nature and Care of Nature, United Nations Conference on Environment and Development UNCED. So, these are the international organizations which not only monitors the environmental degradation and but also they set the guidelines, arrange the conventions and treaties so that the member nations abide by it and try to reduce their any kind of environmental degradation or carbon footprints in the mother earth, on the mother earth. Then the third area in which developments took place was international environmental laws, and now these laws, many of the laws are adopted by India. They are modified according to the need of Indian circumstances. So, the acts which are applicable in India are Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981, Environment Protection Act 1986, Biological Diversity Act 2002, National Green Tribunal Act 2010, and Hazardous Waste Management Regulations, in which notifications and guidelines are issued from time to time. Then the fourth area through which the global ecological problems were sorted are environmental management system. Now, this is on individual companies as well as the governments to think about how to manage the environment and environmental system. So, aligning up the various business activities and processes so that company does not adversely affect the environment and becomes environment friendly. So, it is nowadays many of the brands like HM, they claim that they are using recycled material for designing, for developing their cloth materials, and the percentage of recycled material used, that is also written on the tags. So, this is one way of reducing waste in the nature and plus reusing or recycling material. So, beside that the companies, they should not set free any kind of effluent or any hazardous waste to the nature without treating them. So, that is also a requirement. Then companies need to do many things like gain operational efficiency, setting environmental goals and planning to achieve them, and in that process they will gain goodwill also. So, nowadays since people are aware and they are very much concerned about the environment, so if any company claims that they are using some kind of technology which will have minimal impact on, negative impact on the environment, then the general public will prefer those kind of brands. Then coming to the last topic of this course, that is the Sustainable Development Goals. So, Sustainable Development Goals which is popularly known as SDGs, these are also known as global goals, and they were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet and ensure that by 2030 all people enjoy peace and prosperity. So, in that light they developed 17 SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals. Now, these 17 SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals are integrated. So, like one helps in achieving the others. So, they recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in the others, and that development must balance social, economic and environmental sustainability. Now, the countries have committed to prioritize progress for those who are furthest behind. So, who are left behind, the countries, especially the underdeveloped ones, they have to be aligned with the SDGs also. The SDGs are designed to end poverty, hunger, AIDS, and discrimination against women and girls. The creativity, know-how, technology and financial resources from all of society is necessary to achieve the SDGs in every context. Now, there are 17 SDGs. Here I am just enumerating the SDGs and we will discuss them in detail in my next lecture. So, first SDG is no poverty, SDG number 2 is zero hunger, SDG 3 good health and well-being, SDG 4 quality education, SDG 5 gender equality, SDG 6 clean water and sanitation. SDG 7 is affordable and clean energy, SDG 8 is decent world and economic growth, SDG 9 industry, innovation and infrastructure, SDG 10 reduction in inequalities, SDG 11 sustainable cities and communities, SDG 12 responsible consumption and production, SDG 13 climate action, SDG 14 life below water, SDG 15 life on land, SDG 16 peace, justice and strong institution, and SDG 17 is partnerships for the goals. So, these are 17 SDGs that we will discuss in detail in the next lecture. But here what we are discussing is that India is also, it has also adopted these SDGs. So, they are actively working towards 17 sustainable development goals for 2030 with Niti Aayog coordinating efforts to end poverty, reduce inequality and promote sustainable growth. So, we have adopted all these 17 SDGs and we are striving to achieve them. Niti Aayog as the nodal institution for SDGs in India has striven to provide necessary encouragement and support to forge collaborative momentum among Indian states and union territories. Now, if we classify these goals and if we look into the key focus areas in India, then goal 1 and 2, that is eliminating poverty and hunger, we are working on that. Goal 3 and 4, that is enhancing good health, well-being and quality education. Then SDGs 6 and 7, that is ensuring clean water, sanitation and affordable clean energy. Then SDG 13, that is taking urgent climate action. So, these are the key focus areas in India. When we talk about the what is relevant, what are the relevant SDGs in international business? So, one of them is the SDG 8, that is decent work and economic growth, and SDG number 9, that is industry, innovation and infrastructure. Also SDG 12, 13 and 17, 12 talks about responsible consumption and production, 13 talks about climate action, 17 about partnership for the goals. So, these are all important from international business point of view also. Now, we have talked about SDGs and sustainable development, but there are certain challenges in linking international business and sustainable development. Let us see the challenges. The first is high initial cost. Now, we talk about green and sustainable technology, but they are generally expensive, that is costly. So, companies need to spend a huge amount of expenditure to adopt such technology. Then second problem is balancing dual goals. Now, companies have multiple goals. One of them is to make profit. So, the dual goal of profit motive and another goal is sustainable production. They have to go hand in hand, and that is very difficult task, because when you are spending on sustainable production, then the profit motive will not be achieved. So, you have to find a balance. So, that balancing of dual goals is important. Balancing the two goals is a difficult task, but you have to, the companies have to find out a way. Then resistance to change is another problem. So, there is a resistance from stakeholders who prioritize short-term financial gains over long-term sustainability. So, the management, the shareholders, they want immediate returns. So, if you are investing on these kind of sustainable products, development of sustainable, you will not remain profitable. So, that is the challenge. Then no uniform global standards are there. There is a lack of uniform global standards for sustainability to be followed by all the global companies. Greenwashing is another major problem. Like companies, they project themselves as environment friendly or sustainable goals, but actually they are greenwashing. That means just showing off and not spending enough to maintain environment friendly atmosphere. So, the companies, to save cost and project themselves as sustainable, they adhere to greenwashing practices, and this is also unethical practice. Now, coming to the last topic of this discussion is the role of international business in promoting sustainable development. So, what role international business plays in promoting sustainable development? One is sustainable supply chains. Global firms look for suppliers of raw materials causing no or minimal environmental damage. So, those suppliers who are giving environment friendly products or raw material, they should be selected. So, adopt fair labor practices as well to maintain a balance between supply chain and sustainability. Second role is transformation to green technology. So, the multinational corporations, MNCs, are investing in green technology for many types of product, whether it is electric lighting, appliances, home appliances, or electric vehicles and energy saving production technology. Like for example, big auto players like Volvo, Kia, Ford, nowadays they are having EV models. Then corporate social responsibility. CSR activities of global firms like Unilever in areas such as local community development programs, education, healthcare, etc. That is also in the light of sustainable development only. Then global partnerships. Large scale green programs by global sponsors along with the government and NGOs for reforestation, clean energy, water conservation and collective global environmental problems, it should be there, that is why global partnership should be fostered. Environment friendly product. So, the company should produce environment friendly product, that is producing products with reduced resource consumption, producing products by recycling as I gave the example of HM, then producing products that have a longer lifespan to decrease environmental footprints. So, if the products have a long lifespan, then naturally it will not be discarded in the environment. So, you will reduce environmental footprints also. So, this is about the basic sustainable development, the sustainable development goals and relating it with the international business. Let us summarize the lecture. The measures to resolve ecological problems at global level include international conventions, treaties and protocols, international organizations, international environmental laws and environmental management system. The Sustainable Development Goals SDGs were adopted by the United Nations in 2015. The 17 SDGs aim to end poverty, hunger and protect the planet, and in India Niti Aayog is ensuring that we are moving towards achieving these 17 SDGs. The challenges of sustainable development are high initial cost, balancing goals, resistance to change, no uniform global standards and greenwashing. International business promotes sustainable development through sustainable supply chains, whereby they select the suppliers who will give them environment friendly raw materials, transformation to green technology, corporate social responsibilities, global partnerships and producing environment friendly products. Now, for your references, the books are one by C.B. Gupta, International Business, that is S. Chand Publications, Sumati Verma, there is Pearson Publication, Neeta Tripathi, Taxman Publication. You can also look into the website of ePathshala, then Chaturvedi and others, that is another book. Then Hill and Hult is a foreign author book. And then for this particular topic, you can also visit the UNDP's website for sustainable development goals. I hope you have understood the topic well. Have a good read and have a nice day. Thank you, students.